Hey guys, welcome back to another Hey Arnold vlog. Hopefully I can get through the rest of Season 1, at least the stuff before the Valentine's Day in this video, although probably not. I'm probably going to need like one more video knowing me and how much I have to say. But before I get into the next batch of episodes, I just want to touch on something really quick. And that is the credits in Hey Arnold, because most kid shows, like, not just most kid shows, but shows in general, will sometimes, like, they'll just abruptly, randomly go right into the credits. And I've noticed with Hey Arnold that a lot of times they won't do that. They'll have the credits music start to play while the episode's ending, and then they'll go into the credits. Or in some cases, if it's a special episode, they will just start playing the credit. They'll have a special credits theme. And I think that's really, really cool. And without any further ado, let's get into the first episode, which is False Alarm. In this episode, there's someone who pulled the fire alarm. And everyone believes it's Eugene because right after fire alarm went off because someone pulled it, staff investigated, found Eugene near the scene of the crime with a bunch of his possessions nearby. Specifically, he had peanut butter on his hands, and there was peanut butter on the fire alarm. His glasses were nearby. There were peanut butter footprints. Like, all these things pointing to Eugene. But because of school policy and cartoon logic, if I might add, he gets a day in court. And in said court, he has to face a jury made up of his peers who ultimately decide whether or not Eugene's innocent or guilty. And said jury is made up of Arnold, Gerald, Helga, Phoebe, Harold, and that kid, I don't remember the name. The person who comments on all my Powerpuff Girls vlogs videos has a picture of him as his avatar, and that's the kid. So, they go for the evidence, everyone gives their own accounts, their own theories, and everyone believes Eugene's guilty except for Arnold, who's like determined Eugene wouldn't do that. I know him. He's a good kid. And eventually, one of the characters cracks and confesses, and it's that kid, I can't remember the name of, the one that is always in the background when Riley talks, and he confesses. So, it turns out he did it, and wanted revenge of Eugene because loaned him a pencil. Eugene gave it back all chewed up and shortened, which kind of a jerky move on Eugene's part. And yeah, that's the episode. And it wasn't a huge episode. I mean, again, it was kind of a standard whodunit episode, which is done a lot. And even like the mystery isn't that good. I mean, we know Eugene didn't do it, and I figured out very quickly who it was by the simple fact of, I mean, yeah, Helga has the motivation, but the whole time I'm sitting there thinking, okay, like, all the characters in that room, all the jury members, they're all people we know, all people who know Eugene, except that kid. It's like, why is he there? Why is everyone else a character we know except for him? There's like a bunch of other minor speaking Arnold characters you could put in. Is there? No, there isn't. But yeah, why is he there? And I'm like, okay, he's probably there because it's him and he's going to confess. And sure enough, he breaks his silence in more ways than one. And I would complain about the obvious twist, but I just love the fact that they broke this character's silence. I don't know if it was always the plan to just have this character eventually, hey, we're going to have this character in the background, and the first time it's going to talk, it's going to be this big, over-the-top confession, because it was a great confession. Like, I don't know who the actor was. A paper bag just flew by me. Beware of paper bags. If it was an actor they just got for that episode, or if it was one of the other actors who voices one of the regular characters doubling, but I thought it was just a really cool way to just take this character we've seen in the background and actually have him play a major role. And given those, again, really big, really hilarious, over-the-top confession. And that, yeah, and again, I was always wondering, because, like, I don't know if he gets any more lines, or if this is, like, his 1 minute of fame. But if so, it's a great minute of fame, more than made up for the obvious mystery. And I wonder, like, because, again, there's this person who commented on my Powerpuff Girls vlogs video who had that character as his or her avatar. I wonder, is this the episode why that person has that character as them, or is there stuff they do later on in the show that does it? I'm curious to find out, not through comments, but through watching it. Oh yeah, this kind of reminds me of My Little Pony in a sense, where if you don't watch My Little Pony, there's a bunch of little background ponies in the background that never really get any lines, so everyone speculates about, and we keep seeing them. But anyway, there's these ponies in the background that never say anything, and then there's one episode where they do. It's just them non-stop talking, and that's what it kind of reminded me of. Just taking these characters that the fans have developed their life for, and doing something with them. But again, like, the rest of this was nothing special. Again, you could see it common just by process of elimination, deductive reasoning. It was also obvious that, again, it was obvious who it was, and nothing really blew me away. Again, this is just a homage to a great movie called Rashomon, which if you haven't seen Rashomon, watch it. It's a brilliant film. It's basically murder happens, each character gives their account, and then we get a really shocking revelation of who done it. But yeah, again, not a whole lot to say about that one, except nothing great, but more than worth it to see that kid talk. Then the next episode is World Records. In this one, Arnold wants to get into this book of world records, so him and his friends all attempt records, and oh yeah, I completely forgot, the lawyer Eugene had in the previous episode was completely useless. I thought that was amusing. But anyway, back to World Records. So, Arnold and the gang trying to get into the Book of World Records. They keep attempting all these records, and then they fail. And then they attempt to combine all their skills and that fails. So then Arnold says, I'm just going to write to the record company saying, hey, we attempted to break a record this number of times, and it turns out that's the most attempts anyone's ever had of getting into the record book, so they got in. And I don't have much to say. It was a cute episode. Helga gets angry, Eugene gets hurt, Gerald's pessimistic, and Harold gets impatient. But again, I thought what made it charming was some of the creativities of some of the dares. I mean, there's some serious child endangerment. Like, why would you put Eugene at the bottom of the pyramid? He's like the most sensitive, fragile kid. What about the top? What about the top? Not the base where it's holding weight. We hear Wheeze and Ed talk, which I feel like we've heard him talk before. I like them making the giant pizza pot roll, whatever it is. And again, in both of these episodes, I love the strength of Arnold's characters, how he's constantly doing the right thing. I'm sorry I really don't have that much to say. Again, there wasn't a whole lot to this episode other than that. One, we have Eugene getting hurt, and I mean, there is something I noticed about these episodes in that Helga was just particularly grouchy for the sake of being grouchy, and I understand not every episode is about Helga, but it always bums me when we just sort of make her grouchy for the sake of being grouchy, when there's clearly more to her character than that. It reminds me of the bullies from Stranger Things. It's like, come on, I want to see more of these characters than just, oh, they're the jerks. I mean, it feels like there's some writers who understand Helga, and some who just see her as a grouch with a crush on Arnold. So, yeah. Let's see. So, next episode is Magic Show. In this one, Arnold's putting on a magic show for all the kids, and Helga's being a jerk to everyone, forgets her parents' birthday, gets annoyed at Phoebe for not saving her a seat because Helga took forever to show up, even though she arrived as soon as she got her mail. That Arnold was doing a magic show. And she decides to disappear, and that Arnold's doing the whole classic, step behind this curtain and you'll disappear, and Helga volunteers. And it's basically there's a second curtain, so Helga decides to take advantage of it and just leave through the back end of the box and cause panic when Arnold's trick doesn't work and humiliate him. But before she can get very far and leave the magic area. She gets knocked out, and she fantasizes about what the world would be like without her, and no one misses her, and there's this other girl that's replaced her. And eventually Helga just feels bad, realizing no one misses her, and decides to go back and set everything right. And yeah, it was another Helga episode. It was, again, it wasn't particularly great. I mean, this is basically your It's a Wonderful Life episode, except instead of Helga realizing how much better, how worse the world off would be without her, she sees how better it is. And we see more than likely the only time we're ever going to see Arnold and Ruth kiss. But yeah, I mean, what stood out to me in this episode was the surreal imagery. I mean, it didn't go super far, but I did like when we see Arnold and the gang running around. Oh, wait. No, wait. Sorry, I'm getting it mixed up. That's the next episode. Again, it was pretty standard stuff. It was a little mean-spirited, though. I mean, there's only so many times I can watch Helga be mean-spirited and be a jerk. Like, I mean, I know it was deliberate, and because, the opening, she was especially rude, but yeah. And that's the one thing that kind of sucks about this show, is that because it's not serialized, because it's a bunch of random stories, like, Helga's not really going to grow much, or she'll grow a bit, but then next episode she's back where we started. And who knows, maybe the Jungle movie she'll get redemption, but other than that, like, yeah, this was just not the best Helga episode. It was fine, but I've seen better as far as Helga being redeeming. It did bother me, though, that Arnold didn't realize that Helga probably snuck out the back. I mean, maybe he realized he just wanted to maintain the show. I'm also impressed that the audience hung in there and they didn't bail or anything. I'm just looking and seeing if there's anything else. That's pretty much it. And the next episode was also pretty shallow. It was 24 Hours to Live. In this episode, Arnold and the gang playing baseball, and Arnold accidentally, when he swinging the bat at Harold, Harold's pitching, Arnold's up at bat, and Arnold, he's striking out. Gerald, insults his grandma, and that gets, not Gerald, Harold. Harold insults Arnold's grandma, and Arnold, when he swings the bat, he hits Harold, and he wants to fight him, but Helga convinces him that he should give Arnold 24 hours before he kicks his butt. Arnold spends the 24 hours moping, getting concerned, and then decides to break dance, and everything's cool. And yeah, I'm a little conflicted. On one end, it was nice to finally get an episode with Harold, but again, it was just pretty standard. A lot of worrying, and then it turns out to be nothing. I like seeing Gerald as a supportive friend for Arnold, giving him advice. I like the dream sequence Arnold has. There's a lot of surreal imagery with New York and everything. And Helga constantly badgering Arnold was amusing. I mean, how she managed to get enough money for a newspaper ad, I'll never know. And Arnold breakdancing at the end was really amusing. But other than that, there wasn't a whole lot to this episode, although I was kind of wondering if this takes place before or after the one where Arnold learns karate, because if it's after, Arnold should have no problem. And my other real gripe with it is that Harold's very two-dimensional. He's just the big, dumb oaf, and I would like it if at some point we went into a bit more about Harold, fleshed him out, made him a bit easier to empathize with, maybe why he is the way he is, or the frustrations with being the dumb one, or something. Just something to give him a bit more depth. Because, because they've done a lot to sort of explain why Helga is the way she is, and I'd love to see that same treatment go for Harold. Because again, I feel like he could be a great character if done well, and I was somewhat interested in getting an episode devoted to him, and turns out he's a one-note character. That's my problem with when we do episodes on characters like Harold and Eugene. It's like they're just one-note characters, and the show doesn't really do much to sort of expand them. I mean, again, outside of Arnold and Helga, the only character that really has any depth as of now is Grandpa, and hopefully that gets addressed soon. So that's all I have to say. I managed to get through all the episodes I wanted to, which is impressive. And that means next time we're talking about the season finale, which is the Valentine's Day episode. So I hope you'll join me then. I am really looking forward to it. And leave your thoughts on whether or not you think Helga gets a little too mean-spirited at times, whether Harold's a little too goofy, or just in general, if you have thoughts on world records or any of that stuff. And I'll see you next time when I talk about Arnold's Valentine. See you then.